Ba 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 ba. 2-bit review. Ba 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 ba. 2-bit Jesus reviews, ports and remasters, and
Backwards compatibility. Ski ba 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 da ba da beep ba ba doo.
what's up, guys? 2-bit Jesus back with another 2-bit compares, and today we are taking a look at Gun for the Xbox 360 and the original Xbox. I believe, owned this game on the GameCube, but it was also on Xbox 360, PS2, and the original Xbox. And I decided to pick the original Xbox and the 360 version because I thought they would be the most interesting to look at. This was one of those weird games that came out at the end of a generation, so they're that little crossover. I love games that are in between generations because they're just the most fascinating. Because there's either almost no difference between the new gen game and the old gen game, or old gen version of it, or there's vast differences, and we're about to see that. I can already tell you right now, there is some slight differences between the two versions here. It looks like the 360 version has a bit more contrast. Here we go. We're going to get the opening scene here. I remember loving this game when it came out. I thoroughly enjoyed it, though it was a quote-unquote big open world game, but once you did the main story, there wasn't much to it. There weren't a whole lot of side quests. It was kind of, they were still cutting their teeth, I guess, on big open world games. It was more like kind of Grand Theft Auto 3 style. And here we go with, again, the stereotyping of the West. So, yay, it's not good. Not good, folks. Not good at all. Stereotyping of indigenous people. But no, seriously, bad. You should not. This was definitely protested and had every right to be protested back then. Here we go. Big opening of the game, and I can tell you, not too big of a difference. Like I said, the 360 seems to have better contrast, and there seems to kind of be a haze, and the colors looked a bit washed out on the original Xbox version. Now, as far as gameplay goes, because that's a huge thing. Now, a game could have slightly, downgraded graphics, but have way better gameplay. You can see my Army Men compare video where I thought that the PlayStation version played the best. So, but it didn't look the best. Here we go, more cutscenes. Don't know why I decided to add in a lot of cutscenes. We've already discussed the graphics. Come on, 2-bit, let's get to some gameplay here. That bear looks way better on the 360 version. Just gonna say, it looks, and so does the gun. There's kind of like a weird blur on it. I will say, I thought the game performed better on the original Xbox as far as frame rate goes. There seems to be some frame rate drops on the 360 version. I don't know if I was able to capture it on screen, but I can tell when you're playing the game, because I played the Xbox version first, and then I played the 360 version, and I noticed frame rate drops in the 360 version. So, all in all, though, effectively the same game. I guess it boils down to, what do you prefer? Like I said, they both, for the most part, perform the same in the gameplay department. The 360 does have a slightly harder time holding a steady frame rate, but then again, the original Xbox version, as you can tell, look at it's definitely, colors are more washed out, the textures are blurrier, and all that. Effectively, the 360 version is like you're playing the PC version of Gun from the old gen. Skipping ahead here a little bit, we've seen enough cutscenes. Let's get some more gameplay. And I believe here is where, on this boat scene, is where I did notice some of the frame rate dips. But like I said, they're not that frequent and that noticeable. But they are there. Besides that, I mean, you're basically looking at the same game. It's do you want some more contrast with your gun, I guess, game compared to the original Xbox version? I've noticed, and this might be spoiling it here a little bit, but I've actually done quite a few comparisons, and I've noticed the 360 seems to be a lot darker. There's a lot more like the darker colors and shadows and stuff just seem to be more prominent in 360 versions of games. Maybe it's just me. As we continue this series, I will keep looking at that. And this isn't even comparing it to the original Xbox. There's going to be some comparisons I do of the Xbox One, and it's noticeable there too. And we'll get to that when we get to those episodes. So stay tuned for that. The 360 here, I think, has better particle effects too. Whenever there's explosions or fires and all that, there just seems to be more detail. They just seem to be more dynamic. Overall, the 360 is giving you a much better visual presentation than the original Xbox. That being said, again, it's not that far off the mark. So I guess it just boils down to, do you want the original experience, because Gun was developed for the original Xbox, PS2, GameCube, and all of that, so it was meant for those consoles. And I feel like the 360 just kind of got, they're like, oh well, let's quickly just port this game, try to make a profit off of this game, because I don't think this game sold that well. Oh boy, here we go. This weird little coin thing will not stay in this guy's hand. The 360 version, it does a better job of staying in his hand, but as you could tell, go back, and you can tell that coin is like moving around in that old dude's hand. And here in just a second, I'm going to show you a picture of the sun setting, kind of showing you the difference. I mean, look at right here. The 360 version, to me, looks a lot better, but not like a great leap. I really do feel like the 360 ultimately is an enhanced version of the original Xbox version of the game, but ultimately, was it worth the asking price? I believe that when this game came out, they were asking for the full $60, and I would say hell no. You're not getting that different of an experience, and it's just like, oh, the textures are better, oh, it looks slightly better, but look at it, it's essentially the same game. You're just getting a prettier picture than you would have gotten on the original Xbox. Little inside baseball here to go on a rant, but I used to have the PS2 version. In fact, if you go back to the original 2-bit reviews, there is the intro that I had, the intro that was far too long, and I eventually cut it down, but in that intro, I had the PS2 version of Gun playing, and I used to have that version of the game, and I had a cutscene of it, or a clip of it, in that intro of the 2-bit review. Which, while on the subject of the PS2 version, if you ask me, I don't have video to compare it here, but it was a lot of times the PS2 version was the worst looking version. But that being said, at the end of the day, I think the 360 version looks the best, but effectively you're not missing out on much. If you own the original Xbox version, the PS2 version in fact, or even the GameCube version, unless you get this game super cheap, it's not really worth it. It just isn't. It's essentially the same game, and if you're deciding between all of them, it just comes down to your preference, because there's not that big of a difference between all of them. I would give the nod to the 360 just because it looks better, but it's essentially the same game. So let me know your opinions in the comment section below. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and ding the bell. That way you do not miss a thing we are doing here on the channel. And as always, stay safe and play on.